And the fifth condition that is often confused with narcissistic personality disorder is obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. So this is what people mean when they usually say someone is so OCD. That's not actually what OCD is. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, I don't think a lot of people know about it, but OCPD is a condition where someone is really a rule follower. Rules, regulations, standards, uh, and I'm just thinking about like perfectionism, right? It's like rules and standards need to be followed to the letter of the law, right? They like in the most extreme case, it's like people who have to follow the speed limit. They have to pay attention to every single rule. If um, one of my supervisors gave a really nice example of how her traits of OCPD, where she was trying to enter into a building and there was a sign that says under construction go around, but that was an old sign and the construction was done and actually people can actually walk right into the entryway. She found it so hard to break that rule that she actually like went around to the other way even though logically she's like, no, I know that it's just I could break that rule, it doesn't make any sense, but for her, she had to follow it. So that's what OCPD uh, is all about. It's really about like needing to follow standards and rules. And what that looks like is perfectionism, needing things to be perfect. Otherwise, there's a lot of distress. Changes in plans are really distressing. Delegation is really hard, right? Like giving, trusting other people who might do things differently or might not up to par is really difficult. So it's like having really high, rigid standards. Now, this is often confused with narcissism because of, as you could probably hear, it can feel really controlling, right? It's really like my way or the highway, needing things to be done a certain way, uh, controlling other people's behaviors, and they need to follow a certain standard and rules. You can't delegate to other people. You can't trust other people because they might make mistakes. Mistakes and slips are just so upsetting to both people with NPD and OCPD, right? And it could be really rigid and inflexible. Um, it's funny when I talk about this, my dad had, I think, traits of both OCPD and NPD. Um, the funny thing is that despite having those traits, I found him to be like a really warm, loving father. So I don't talk about his his traits like negatively, but he was obsessive about cleanliness, right? That might be like an OCD. OCD is like, for people who don't know, OCD is like this looping thought or intrusive thought and a behavior that helps people manage the distress around it. So like some people will have the thought, I left the stove on and the house is going to burn down. The house is going to burn down. I left the stove on and they have to go check the stove, right? And even if they know it doesn't make any sense. So often it could be about a standard rule. This has to be perfectly clean. Otherwise, disaster will befall us. So, but OCPD is way more about rules and perfectionism, and OCD is more about these like looping intrusive thoughts. So my dad definitely had like everything had to be perfectly clean. And if anything were dirty, he would like steam clean our whole house, and if anything got on the rug he would like steam clean the whole thing again. He would like obsessively clean, and it was he the narcissism was like he loved like rules and following, but he liked his rules, right? He liked his standards. He did have this idea that he was special, that he was, he almost did it like jokingly, like, oh, like I believe the pack. I know what I'm doing and blah blah blah, right? Like typical boomer, typical boomer dad, right? It's my way or the highway, but he was kind of more nice about it. But he was really like adamant about keeping things perfect, right? In some ways. And that's the thing that could be confusing, especially with people with power, right? If you have a boss who needs things to be a certain way, criticizes you if you make any mistakes, um, can't delegate, doesn't like it when things fall apart, and when people don't listen to him, or the I say him, her, could be her. Um, but don't obey their rules, right? When there's a power differential, it really could seem more like narcissism, right? It's my way. I'm special. I'm above you. You got to listen to me and you got to do what I say, right? But with narcissism, it is way more about the ego. It's way more about I am better than everyone.